Alright, so y'all go ahead and do the factoring and the math knowledge question for today. Pause the video, and then once everyone is finished, you can unpause the video and I'll go over the correct answers. So for the factoring, we should have x plus 18 times x minus 2. For the math knowledge question, we're looking for the least common multiple, and that's going to be the smallest integer that can be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So we start with the bottom one. 1 can't be divided by all of those. 30 can be divided by 1, 2, 3. It cannot be divided by 4. Okay, 60 can be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that would be your least common multiple. You always want to start with the smallest number. So we're looking at lesson 24 today, the sums of trig functions, and then we're going to look at combining functions. So hopefully after this lesson you'll understand sums of trig functions and how to combine functions. We want to evaluate these. So we've been working on our 30, 60, 90 triangle and our 45, 45, 90 triangle. And I'm hoping you're getting close, or you already are, to the point where you don't need to draw the triangles out anymore. If you're still having to draw them out, you really need to get to where you aren't drawing them, because that's going to end up wasting time. You need to know sine, cosine, and tangent of 30 and 60 degrees and 45 degrees, because that's going to be vital as we go further into pre-calculus. So we're going to evaluate this. The cosine of 60 degrees, does anybody know what that is? Okay, if you don't remember it, I am going to draw the reference triangles. Again, I hope you are getting to where you don't need these. So if you're not there yet, part of your homework, I want you to spend time working on memorizing these without needing to draw them out. Okay, so those are going to be our two triangles. So the cosine of 60 is going to be 1/2. And the sine of 45 is going to be 1 over the square root of 2, which, if you rationalize it, is going to be square root of 2 over 2. So those both have a common denominator of 2, so we can say 1 plus square root of 2 all over 2. So that would be your answer there. Okay, we're going to look at another one. And again, I'm hoping you're getting to where you don't need these triangles, but just in case you need them, here they are. So the tangent of 30 is 1 over square root of 3, which, if you rationalize that, would be square root of 3 over 3. And the cosine of 45 is 1 over square root of 2, which, if you rationalize, would be square root of 2 over 2. From there, we need to make a common denominator, which is going to be 6. So this term gets multiplied by 2, and this one gets multiplied by 3. And so that would be your answer here. I want y'all to pause the video and try this one by yourself, and then I'll go over it. So tangent of 45 is going to equal 1, and then tangent of 30 degrees is going to equal 1 over square root of 3, which is square root of 3 over 3. So if you distribute, you'll have 2 square roots of 3 over 3. We can make a common denominator of 3, so this 1 gets multiplied by 3, and then plus 2 square roots of 3. So that should be your answer there. Okay? We're going to look at one more. Again, I want you to try this one by yourself and see if you can get it right. It is a little bit harder just because of the square root of 6 and the 1 over square root of 2, but you should be able to work through it. So y'all try this one by yourself. So we're going to have square root of 6 and then the sine of 30. The sine of 30 is 1/2 plus 1 over square root of 2 tangent of 60. The tangent of 60 is square root of 3 over 1, which is just square root of 3. So if we multiply here, we'll get square root of 6 over 2. And then if we multiply here, we have square root of 3 over square root of 2. So we need to rationalize this one. So that would give us square root of 6 over 2 plus square root of 6 over 2. So those have a common denominator of a 2. And square root of 6 plus square root of 6 is 2 square root of 6, which is just square root of 6. So that would be your answer there. So if you got that one right, that's awesome. Again, get to where you don't have to draw the triangles, or you don't have to look at them. You can just do them in your head. Okay, so now we're going to look at the combining functions. If it says f of x plus g of x, that's the same thing as just saying f plus g of x. That just means you add them together. If it says f of x minus g of x, or f minus g of x, that just means you subtract the two. You can write it either way. You can do f of x times g of x, or fg times of f times g of x. Those both mean that you multiply your two functions. And then you can do f of x over g of x, or f over g of x, and those just mean that you divide them. So what you see, what sign you see, is exactly what you do. Now this one at the bottom is called composition. So you can either write it as f of g of x, or f composed with g of x. So either one of those, that notates the composition. And we'll go over how to compose functions in just a minute. So we want to compose g of f of x. So what I like to do, instead of writing g of f of x, I like to write it as g of f of x, like this. And so we're going to take our f function, f of x is equal to log of x, it tells us. So instead of g of f of x, we're going to do g of log of x. And then we're going to plug log of x into our g function. So instead of x squared, it's going to be log of x squared, and then plus 6. And that's how you compose functions. Okay, we're going to look at another one where it has us adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And it says all of them are at 6. So what we want to do is find f of 6 and g of 6. And that'll make it a lot easier. So f of 6, if you plug in 6 here, you'll get 8. And if you plug in 6 here, 6 squared is 36, plus 3 is 39. F plus g of x is the same thing as f of 6 plus g of 6. And we found f of 6 to be 8, and we found g of 6 to be 39. So 8 plus 39 is 47. So that's how you do that. For this one, f minus g of 6 is the same thing as f of 6 minus g of 6. F of 6 we found was 8, and then g of 6 we found was 39. So 8 minus 39 is negative 31. Okay? For this one, we're just going to do f of 6 times g of 6. And so f of 6 was 8, and g of 6 was 39. And so if you multiply those, you get 312. And over here, we can do f of 6 over g of 6. And so if you divide, you would have 8 over 39. And so that's how you can multiply, divide, add, subtract two functions. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with your functions. Your homework tonight, you do get to omit number 16 and 26. So make sure that you do the other ones so that we can go over any questions you have tomorrow.